Greetings, coaches. You're listening to the All Access Coaching Podcast powered by the Glazier Drive. My name is Rick Stewart, and I created All Access Coaching with the vision of coaches helping coaches, which is why I partner with the folks at Glazier, because we share the same vision, which is focused on one thing, making you a better coach. This is hosted by allaccesscoaching.com. I want to take a minute to introduce you to our sponsor for today's episode, Rack Coach. Rack Coach gives coaches an easy-to-use online tool for creating, customizing, and efficiently tracking your strength and conditioning program. Their audio-visual timers drive weight room efficiency and tempo, which kind of ties into today's talks because Coach is going to talk about saving time and efficiency in practice. Well, Rack Coach does the same thing in the weight room and empowers you as a coach to have more time to focus on teaching and motivating. Visit them today at rackcoach.com. Well, I'm really excited to have the Massillon offensive coordinator, co-offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, Jarrett Troxler. I hope I didn't butcher that. Jarrett Troxler with us. Jarrett played down in North Carolina and South Carolina. He was an all-region quarterback wide receiver at McBee High School in South Carolina. Then played wide receiver and had a cup of coffee up at the college level at Chowan College in North Carolina. He's been an assistant coach in Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, and he's had some head coaching jobs at two different schools in Georgia. He'll touch on briefly. They were totally different situations. And then he made the move down from the South and went up to up near the NFL Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, very near Cleveland. He's at a school that Massillon, Ohio, that is very, very deep in tradition. Paul Brown, the NFL Hall of Fame coach that started both the Bengals and the Browns, was the head coach there. A couple of Ohio State head coaches started their career at Massillon, Ohio. And if you haven't seen the show on Netflix, it's pretty cool. It's called Go Tigers. You really see the tradition. I think they're right up there with probably Valdosta State as far as the tradition and everything. I think that Jarrett's head coach was on last week on the podcast. He said they have the 17th largest high school stadium in America, which is saying something when you see those big stadiums that Texas is all built. Hey, Coach, really excited here on a Monday morning. I'm drinking my cup of coffee. I think you're probably around the lunch hour there in Ohio. So, hey, Coach, if you want to kind of just introduce yourselves. Again, there's both the video and then there's some guys driving their cars or working out the gym listening to the podcast. Welcome, Coach.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to do this. Really enjoyed our partnership with Glazier and what we're doing to help educate coaches. Of course, I need educated myself, so it's good for me to get on here and chop it up and talk football with you guys. But yeah, I mean, you did a pretty good job introducing me. I'm a Southern boy and ended up north. My wife's from Ohio, so great. I'm glad to see the clinics coming back because one of the ways I ended up here was my wife's from Ohio, and I met Coach Moore, our head football coach, at a coaching clinic down in Atlanta. And then fast forward a year, and I got a call and an opportunity opened up for me to move her back home and work at one of the most tradition-rich high schools in the country. So it's been quite a journey, this football thing. You mentioned that I've been in multiple states, and so I've been around in my 20 years that I've been doing this thing.
Coach, I think the listeners would enjoy, can you real briefly just give us a quick snapshot? What's the difference between how football coaches are treated in Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, which is pretty close to a Texas situation, and then, of course, you can touch on Ohio. What was the difference in that journey? You've been in some different states. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's actually a really good deal for me because, like I tell our young coaches here at Massillon, I was like, we've got a full-time equipment staff. We got a full-time training staff. I mean, I hadn't sized a helmet or shoulder pads or worried about washing laundry, or all I do is coach, and that's all I worry about. We got one of the best equipment guys around, but I'm also that guy that years ago I was taking decals off helmets, getting them ready for reconditioning. I've done it myself. I've messed it up as a young coach and got yelled at. And I've painted sleds. I've lined fields. I've mowed grass. All that good stuff. So it's funny that it's been good for me as someone that's been around a few places. I have an appreciation now for things like what our equipment guy does, or what our training staff does, or only having to coach quarterbacks and call the offense and not have to worry about all the other things that most coaches do. We got a full-time strength staff here, so it's definitely a blessing. But the biggest difference, when I was in Virginia, I was at a private school, and plus I was so young, I just was excited to be on the grass coaching. So I didn't know anything then, and I coached defensive backs.
Good afternoon, Washington High School.
I was coaching defensive backs then, and it was fun, and it was kind of an introductory job. I didn't have a job at school. I was finishing up college, my 5th year, and coaching at the same time. So I was learning how to watch film, and I worked for a guy named Dale Marks, who was awesome, that taught me just some of the basics. Because when you get out of college and you play, you think you know how to coach football, and then you get out there and you realize you don't know what you're doing, and what you did as a player doesn't necessarily make you a good football coach. So I learned how to watch film, learned how to break down film, and do all that stuff. So then I ended up moving home, McBee, South Carolina, a little small town right out, in between Columbia and Myrtle Beach. And I said, all right, I want to start this coaching career thing. I want to learn. I want to go coach. That's one of the things I wanted to do. So I got it started there. That was a small school, having to coach 2 positions. I coached wide receivers and secondary. So being in a small school, coaching 2 sides of the ball, washing laundry, lining fields, mowing grass, doing all that stuff. And then I had an opportunity through Coach Woodbury, who I was working for, to go coach at Anson County, and that's where it kind of really started. Where I started my career, kind of took off. Anson County is a tradition-rich program in North Carolina. Worked there for 4 years, and had an opportunity to go be an offense coordinator down in Georgia. And I took an offense coordinator job down there. Baptism by fire. I always thought I was going to be a defensive coordinator. I wanted to coach defense, and I had an opportunity to go be an offensive coordinator, and it kind of got thrown in the fire at a young age. And so, but I learned and worked my butt off, and then I took a head coaching job at the same school that I took the OC job. So I experienced that. I was athletic director there. So the biggest change for me was North Carolina. The pay was, it was pretty good for a young man, but I was about to get married, have a family, so I wanted to make significant more money. So that's why I moved down to Georgia. And of course, in North Carolina, there's no spring ball. Football's important, but it's a whole nother level down in Georgia. So I went down there to make a little bit more money. Of course, we're not all in this for money, but it is nice when you can make a little bit more money. And so I went down with the driving force, but also I wanted to test out, because Georgia high school football is it. I mean, it's up there with Texas, Florida, up here in Ohio. It's really good football. And I learned that when I got there, so, and the commitment to football there too, is putting all the kids in weightlifting and letting you hire coaches. I mean, when I took the job as head coach at Lakeside High School, they gave me 2 PE spots, 2 special ed spots, 2 history spots, and said, go find you a staff. And I went and hired a high quality staff. I was a young head coach. I was only 30 years old. And so I needed to surround myself with good people. So that was one of the biggest difference too, is I didn't have a problem getting coaches in the building.
How does that compare with North Carolina, as far as what does North Carolina do with football coaches, getting them in the building, and football Football,
North Carolina's pretty good. They get because because there's no PE waivers, so there's plenty of PE jobs. There's plenty of ways to get alternate certificates for people. They have something in North Carolina called lateral entry. If you have a 4-year degree, you can take the test in the content area and then go back to school. But you're hireable once you if a district agrees to hire you, you can work on your teaching certificate while you teach. So that was very, very beneficial. You got someone that can coach, but they got a 4-year degree, but they don't have a teaching license, where you can hire them. And then they have I think it's 3 years to get their teaching license. So that was really.
So in North Carolina, a lot of the assistant coaches are also in the building.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not as, not quite as lax teaching jobs as Georgia, because a lot of places in Georgia, like when I was at Thompson High School, I left from being a head coach and I took a job at Thompson High School, which is a tradition-rich program. We almost won a state championship my last year there. Trevor Lawrence kind of lit us up in the dome. But we there our team taught weightlifting, me and the defense coordinator. So, and it was nothing but football kids all day long. So, that was a little different too, as far as teaching assignments.
So for you listeners, to kind of put it in perspective, I was a head coach for 17 years in California. I was always a teacher. I told coach I screwed up though in college. I got a science credential. So all 17 years of being a head coach, I had to do 5 or 6 periods of science. Weight training in California is not a football class. It's an elective. So kids still have to take regular PE during the day. So football class in California is either before school or after school. So all 17 years, we were doing what we call a 0 period, a pre-first. The kids did get a grade, but it was only elective. And I was a head coach at 7 high schools, and only 3 of the 7 was my defensive coordinator, also a teacher in the building. The other 4 head coaching jobs, I was the only teacher, the only employee of the school district. Everybody else was, I jokingly said, had real jobs. They were real estate agents and correctional officers, and they had jobs, business owners, youth pastors, guys that had schedules where they could be there. We don't start football practice in California till 3:30, 4:30 in the afternoon because there's no teachers in the building and all the kids have to go to school. There's no football class. I'm in Pennsylvania now. I've been head coach over there for 4 years. We've had a lot of success. None of us are teachers in the building, and weight training's after school. My son runs it, and they go 4:30 every day after school. It's totally elective. There's no grades. He doesn't get paid for it. He just volunteers, and there's not one of us is a teacher. So, I've always found it interesting in the different states. When you say you take football seriously, all the fans love football, but how serious is the Department of Education when they're going to step up and take care? By the way, in California, every single job, all 7 schools, my head coaching stipend was the equivalent to any head varsity coach. So the girls varsity golfing coach made the same stipend as I did as the football coach, because our teaching union just says, you're a varsity coach, so this is what you get paid. And so, anyways, that's not what this podcast is about. I think it's interesting with this journey. Coach we'll have his contact stuff up here, and you guys get a hold about these differences. But it's nice to see the differences. So, coaches, when you're listening to this, yes, he's at Massillon. They're very blessed. They have full time this and full time that, and him and the D coordinator they don't do a lot of teaching in the classroom, but Coach remembers his roots. He remembers where he started at, and you two-way players, and you're scratching and clawing for time and things like that. Coach, real quick, what have you found the difference between being a head coach and being coordinator? You were assistant, you climbed up, and some coaches will think you reached the pinnacle as head coach, and now you went back to Massillon as a coordinator. In fact, you said you left a head job in Georgia to be a coordinator again.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I was a head coach at Lakeside and Greenbrier High School in Georgia, and my friend got the head coaching job at Thompson High School, which is a great program, and he called me and was like, "Hey, I want you to come run the offense." And I was like, "Well, I don't know, and they made it financially where it was something I couldn't turn down. And to be quite honest with you, I was kind of burnt out from the head coaching stuff, and I thought it was a great opportunity. Thompson's a great program. It still is. I was like, I think I'm going to do it. I talked to my wife and I jumped in, and it was an opportunity for me to, go back to coaching and not worrying about, booster club meetings and all the head coaching stuff. Does Johnny have a physical? Where's the insurance paperwork? Where's, I was ready. I was ready just to coach football. You know what I mean? So that's what drove me to take the job. And Coach Ridings did a fantastic job of saying, hey, I don't want anything to do with the offense. It's all yours. I'm not, and he was great. He never even checked on me during staff meetings. I was like, hey, coach, I'm doing that. He said, I don't care. I got to stop him. He took a big role on the defense side, and he let me hire some coaches on the offensive side, and we had a ton of success there. So that was a lot of fun. That was a good career choice for me. So, and then that led me into, I was speaking at a clinic and met Coach Moore and had an opportunity to move up to Ohio. So my wife's from here, Northeast Ohio. So it worked out perfect.
So, Coach, you're very happy being a coordinator.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I keep saying that one day I might get the itch to jump back in the head coaching role somewhere, maybe, but right now I'm enjoying myself. I'm having fun because I was pretty burnt out. And so it's been great.
Well, hey, Coach, these guys didn't log in to hear about our resume. So they this talk is about how can you practice efficiently, right? How can you get more reps in practice and to really take advantage of the time? And so Coach is going to go and share a screen now and get started on this thing. You young coaches listening, this is huge, right? You don't need kids standing around. Kids don't learn by listening. And this would be a great talk. So jump right in, Coach. Here we go.
Yeah, Rick, you're 100%. Kids don't learn by standing around. And when kids start standing around, they lose focus. When things are not going on, coaches lose focus. And so you need everybody moving around and coaching and kids playing hard and working hard. So how do you get that done is what we're talking about here. Let me share this screen. Okay. So this is a clinic I did right before COVID hit. I will start with this because it does have something to do with practice. This is one of my favorite quotes. I'm a big martial arts guy. I train jiu-jitsu. So I love anything martial arts and things that I've learned through training jiu-jitsu. I try to take it over to my coaching stuff. But this is from Bruce Lee. I fear not the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once, but fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. So that's kind of our philosophy on offense. We don't run a lot of stuff. We try to condense our packages, and I think that helps us with practice efficiency. We don't sit here and try to be a master at every single run scheme there is. We pick out what we think our kids are going to be good at. We practice the crap out of it and rep it and get good at it. So I just start off with that. That's kind of our philosophy. It'll make sense when we do this. I think with practice efficiency, it comes down to being prepared as coaches. All right. The kids, some consistency in the weeks. So the kids know what to expect. They know the expectation and just roll with it. Now, again, like you said, everybody starts practice times different. Like you said, you guys started at 4:30. You're waiting on guys to get off work. So already, what time does school get out? 3:00. So already they're you might have film and weights and meetings and all that, but see, once you get to practice, the kids have already been there for an hour. So once you get there, you want to make sure they're engaged, they're learning, and you're getting work done, because they'll lose focus. I mean, you get into like 5, 6 o'clock, they start getting hungry, and it's just not, now you're just trying to fight an uphill battle of teenagers. So as far as our practice efficiency, the highlights I have up on the screen, especially for you guys who are driving or walking on the treadmill or whatever you're doing, the highlights I have on here is we practice guys both ways. We script everything. So everything we do, every drill we do, every pre-practice drill, everything's scripted. We don't sit around and guess what play we're going to run. We draw cards every day. So like if we got an inside period, Coach Mazer, he's our other co-offense coordinator. He scripts the inside run plays, and he draws the cards new every day. I know some people go, when I was younger, I was like, well, Coach, why don't we just draw the cards on Sunday or whenever we game plan, and then just use those cards all week? And he was like, well, we can do that to save time, but what if you need your quarterback to look at something different, or what if we need a different look? So we draw offensively. I know you can get away with that on defense because they run the same plays, but on offense, we draw new cards every day, because what I want from a quarterback coach standpoint, let's say we're running, I don't know, maybe we're running some type of RPO. The second level guy we want to read, day one, I want him bailing and dropping up under the throw. So our quarterback has to give the ball. Well, the next day I might call the same play on the script, but maybe I want the quarterback to act different. Maybe I want him to pull and throw. So I gotta draw that guy on that card what to do. So drawing cards for the scout team is huge, and we just do it daily. We try to be efficient, like by keeping formations consistent, so we don't have to draw 10,000 cards during the week. But like play 1 and play 2 may be out of the same formation, so you can have one card with 2 plays on it. So we make sure we draw all the cards. Tempo, we really want to practice fast and be moving along from drill to drill and not spending too much time talking. All right, sounds counterintuitive. All right, but sometimes you got to let the kids make a mistake. Now, we will redo some things. Now, if something needs to be addressed, we'll address it. But for the most part, if a kid makes a mistake, we move on. All right. And then you got to coach it up on the side. You got to coach it up on the run, or you got to coach it up. And I'll talk about the huddle notes in a minute with huddle notes if you're filming practice. So it's important the tempo of practice and the flow of practice doesn't get interrupted by, I'm not going to stop everybody in the drill and coach my quarterback and make everybody wait on me to fix quarterback. If it's that serious an issue, get him out, put the backup in or the number 3 in, and let them get reps and fix the issue. Because that's what's going to happen on Friday night. You're not going to be able to go out there and hey, time out, we need to talk about this. They got to learn on the run is what we think. And it's been successful for us. 5-minute periods when we start off the year. So we divide practice up. 5-minute periods. We try to keep it within 2 hours. But on Monday and Tuesday, we go 2 hours. But on starting after week 1, we cut that down to 4-minute periods. So that trims some practice time off. All right. And then in the playoffs, we really cut back. So, we kind of cut back as we go, the amount of time we spend in period. And you would think, man, we had a 5-minute period. Now we're down to a 4 or 3-minute period. We're not getting as much work done. You'd be amazed how much work you get done when there's an urgency to know I only have 4 minutes to get this done. So I got to coach my butt off. So that helps us coaches too, kind of, all right, we got to hurry up and get this in. So cutting down the practice time, film everything you can. We're lucky enough. We got a film crew. We intercut our practice film. We have an end zone and wide copy and field level copy of our practice. We're lucky to do that. But with huddle and iPads and things like that, I know when I was a head coach one year somewhere, we didn't have a film staff, and I just got a manager to hold an iPad, but on a little elevated ladder thing, and it was great. So if you can, try to film everything you can at practice. That way you can come back and use the huddle notes to correct that. I actually have on the Glazier Drive, I've got a whole clinic on how to use huddle notes. So that'd be good to go on the drive and look at that. That's how we do everything on that. Another thing that helps us with efficiency at practice, we wear headsets at practice. Most schools have those wireless headsets now. Those are fantastic for practice. We got different ones for games, but our practice headsets are fantastic because the guy signaling the offense is our receiver coach, and he don't need me standing right beside him to tell him what the play is. I'll just read it off the script, and he signals it in just like on Friday night, and we can converse as coaches without standing right beside each other. And we can work the field. We can be anywhere. If something happens, I can say, hey, did you see that? Yeah, I got that. Or they might remind me of something, just like maybe I got a mistake on the script. Maybe I typed up something wrong. They're like, hey, that's the wrong formation. Maybe we should be in this formation. I'm like, oh, yeah, I messed that up on the script. So having headsets at practice for offense has been great for us. That was something we've been doing that for 5 years now, and I love it. It's really good. Everybody has a job. I got on there, so make sure everyone knows what they're doing. Every coach, whether it's especially in the team periods. The team periods is when you kind of get downtime. We want everybody coaching their play, but we always make sure everybody on offense has a job. Spotting the ball, yelling out the hash. Like one of our coaches, his job is to yell out right hash. It's scripted on there, and he just yells out right hash. And our strength coach is the one spotting the ball. So, he yells out right hash, strength coach spots the ball. Here we go. Middle, left middle, so make sure everybody has a job. And that's something you can sign in there. Steal time in practice is something I really think is huge. And what I mean by that is, if you got any downtime, let's say a great example is during special teams. If your kids aren't on special teams or they're not running a scout team, that's a great opportunity to steal time. That's what me and the offensive line coach do is if it's punt, me and the quarterbacks, that's where we maybe get our RPO drill work in for the week, or I don't do everyday drills. I know that was a real cliche thing back, and some people still do that, and that's fine. That's good. But for me, everyday drills are things that it's a constant thing that's evolving depending on what my quarterback needs. If the quarterback needs some pocket presence work, he kind of struggled that Friday in the pocket. Maybe my everyday drill that day is some pocket present work, or I try to evaluate what he struggled with on Friday, and that's how I kind of come up with my drill work for the week. So I don't have any. Our warm-up routine's typically the same thing all the time, but as far as everyday drills, that's a fluid thing for me because I want to make sure I'm addressing issues that our guys have. So what I do for that is I steal time, and when you do that, you don't need as much indie time, and you're still an extra indie time. So I think the kids get more out of that than it's punt. Y'all just go over there and take a knee for 15 minutes, or 10 minutes, however long your special teams period is. And then the last thing I got on there is use huddle notes. And like I said, in Drive, I've got a full clinic on how I use and how our offensive staff uses huddle notes. So you're not wasting time watching film with the kids after school or after practice. You can really get on there, and it doesn't take long at all. And you can be really detailed. And the kids, when they're watching film on their own, they're intently watching the film. They're seeing things that they need to correct, and they're getting coaching cues from you as a coach. So it's a great huddle. I wish huddle was – we were talking earlier about when I first started my career. Man, things changed with huddle because I was that young guy trading film and driving all over the place and dubbing copies of film. So So really utilize those huddle notes. Yeah, and I got some examples of practice schedules on here that people can look at. We go Monday, Tuesday is typically a normal practice schedule where you have some indie involved. Then you got your inside, your skelly, or we do team pass. That's one way we combine drills. A lot of what I talk about with saving time for practice is combining drills. So like if we, instead of doing a blitz pickup period and a 7-on-7 period, we just go 11-on-11 team. We call it team pass, and that's our blitz pickup period, and that's our skelly period, all built in one. And we've watched our quarterback efficiency rating go through the roof by doing that, because the quarterback gets a true sense of throwing in the pocket. So I really like team pass. And then on Wednesday is more of a team deal. We've got first down, third down, red zone, and then special teams. And we're off the field typically on that day, hour, 15 minutes, maybe. We usually get it in about an hour. So then,
Hey, coach, going back to that Wednesday schedule, I noticed you don't have quote unquote indie time scheduled. So the way a position coach gets their indie time is during these special team periods.
Right. So
Okay.
during the special teams periods, right there, what I'll do is I'll take the quarterbacks and we'll work drill work. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take the receivers. Let's say we're doing a special team and some receivers not on it. We'll pull them to the side. Maybe we'll work some back shoulder fades. Maybe we'll work some goal line throws, things like that. So that's one way we kind of stay organized with that. I'll talk to the guys on our staff and be like, hey, who's in this, who's on this? Or I'll take the special team depth chart and I'll look at it. And then you really don't have to do it one week, because the next week, the same kids, they know, hey, I'm not on this, coach. And then we're throwing, and then the horn is sound, and one of our receivers is a kickoff return guy. Hey, coach, I'm out. I got to go. All right, bye, man. Go and send me whoever. And the next guy comes down. So we do a good job of stealing some indie time during that. And it keeps all the kids engaged and busy during that special teams time. Because, you've coached for a long time. You know how that's a necessary evil. You got to work special teams. But then you look around, but you always fight that battle with guys standing around, So that's a perfect time to try to get still some time with your guys. And like our receiver coach helps with kickoff return and some other things. So you don't necessarily need all your coaches. Like just me and I take the quarterbacks and I take the receivers. I go down there and work them. And our running back coach helps me with it. So a lot of times I like to do some run tracks with our guys, and this drill right here, and for the guys listening, it's just it's a drill where we've got some receivers running routes, and then we're also working backfield action. So we've got a throwing session going here, and this is a Wednesday practice. And then right here, we're working on our power run tracks. Okay. So, and we've got two quarterbacks going.
So coaches that are listening, let me describe this for you. What I'm seeing is basically on the left hash, he's got the quarterbacks with the receivers, one quarterback with the receivers, and they're working something. Then his other quarterback, I'm sure one's a first string, second string, he just switches the quarterbacks. The other quarterback is on the right hash, and he's got running backs, and they're doing tracks for inside zone or whatnot, or whatever. So, and then, like you said, I'm assuming, coach, that it's real easy. All you do is switch the quarterbacks, and then one quarterback that can go overthrow, and the other quarterback come over and do handoffs.
Exactly. And if you see this, that's a lot of reps, man. And this is during a special teams session. So we got this going on while special teams is going on. Look how many reps we're stealing. It's a great thing, and it's not that hard to get done. Here's an example too of we're doing some run tracks, and it's a great way of, you talk about people standing around, where we got one quarterback going here and we got another quarterback throwing into a net. So you don't necessarily need, you can put a kid over there to catch. So, just making sure you're utilizing your time wisely and giving everybody a job to do while you're practicing is huge.
Coach, I'm going to stop you there. So, you said you cut your teeth at some small school programs. In California, I've been at both. On my first head coaching job, we suited up a grand total of 50 kids in the whole program. I moved on to some bigger programs, 150, 200 kids. In Pennsylvania this year, we only suited up 55. So what would be your suggestion in those practice schedules you're showing and then these reps to the smaller programs where, they might have one quarterback 9 through 12, or they've only got, they're not too deep at every running back position. What would be your advice on to the small school program? You got 9 kids going both ways.
Yeah, and that's a tough deal. I know when I was at MACB, we couldn't have done some of this stuff. And I would say then, you would just have to plan it out, a lot more of one-on-one type stuff, especially, if you've got 2 quarterbacks and like at a small school, all your guys got to play special teams, and the guys that aren't on the special teams, they got to be the scout team. So I think it varies on the different places you are, and some things you can't do. Like some of this stuff will be tough to do at some of those small schools. But I think the overarching thing, no matter where you're at, is just really being focused with your time and making sure that you're utilizing every second you can and not wasting time. I always like to evaluate things, so I hate to waste time.
Not to hijack your talk, coaches. I've got a couple suggestions. What I did, because I went from a school like what Coach is at with Massillon, where I had all these resources and got to a smaller school. So we do a lot of half lines. The kids aren't standing around. So our varsity kids, our older kids, the really good sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they're on the left hash mark, and we're running some sort of play that goes to left, a bubble screen left, option left, we're wing T team belly left. Then we had the youngins, which my son and we have 2 line coaches. So the younger coach goes over there. They're on the right hash, and they're running plays that go to the right. So if this is a bubble screen session, the varsity guys are doing bubble screen left. The JV kids are on the right hash mark. They're doing bubble screen right. Coach, it only takes 5 minutes to get those plays in. We do bubble out of a 2 receiver, then we do bubble out of trips, then we do bubble with a motion. Well, then what we do is we don't even switch hashes. We just have the kids literally turn around. So now if you turn around, if you're on the left hash, you just turn around. Now you're on the right hash.
And yell out Riverside and just turn it around.
That's how we handle the small school things. Special teams at my bigger schools, I did what Coach did. We were pulling kids off and doing indos. I couldn't do that at the small school. Special teams became special teams, and everybody was contributing because you needed now what we did do was we had kind of another kind of really awful practice field. So we were able to separate the JV special teams from the varsity special teams. So coaches, I'm with Coach Troxler. I think what you do though is you really sit down and take a really hard look, be honest with yourself. Don't accept excuses from your assistant coaches and say, all right, who was standing around? What positions did they play? What drill can they be doing? We've done some stuff too. Like you got a couple kids standing around. They're awful, right? They're 4 string and you don't even have a 2nd and 3rd string, right? These are young kids, first year out. They're overweight. They're not athletic. So we'll take our most youngest, least seniority coach and say, hey, take those 8 kids over there and do a tackling drill, because they're going to get a little bit better just doing a 10-minute tackling drill. I've done that even when we're on offense. If we're on offense, I say, hey, listen, hey, Coach Kerr, just take those 8 kids over there and do a 4-cone tackling drill with them. And he kind of looks at me and goes, listen, just make them better, because there's no way they're going to get in any of these reps. They're not even the starters on JV, so they're not even on the right hash that I just described. So I'm loving this talk, and coaches, just because you're a small school, I hope you're not sitting there going, yeah, we can't do that. Don't be a program of can'ts, be a program of can'ts. I have a small school 2-hour practice video of how I make efficient practices with small schools on my website, allaccesscoaching.com, because, that's what Pennsylvania made me a better coach. I show up and there's 55 kids and I'm like, oh, wow, I can't practice the way I'd always practice. And I just sat down one night and I got on the board and I said, okay, then I got to organize things differently. Sorry, Coach, I just wanted to chime in there real quick.
Well, you hit the nail on the head with that about, looking at things and going, well, I need to change. And I think that sometimes, especially guys our age, I got 20 years in, it's easy for me to say, well, back when I was at Thompson 5 years ago, we did it like this, and we played in the Georgia Dome. Well, that don't matter. I mean, you got to evolve. You got to change. Everything's different. You can't just do things because that's the way you used to do it. And you got to be willing to change. And a lot of that is an ego thing. You got to take your ego out of things, and you got to think what's best for the kids, what's best for the team, and you got to evaluate everything. And if a drill you did took too long and it didn't work, then fine, you learned about that. Don't do it again. And I think that you just like you said, you got to be honest with yourself and say, was that an efficient practice? Was that an effective practice? Or were we out there just going through the motion? Because we would never accept that from kids at all. So us adults, we got to make sure that we do the same as far as putting the preparation time in and being ready for practice.
Another small tip, coaches, is no matter how many quarterbacks you got, and I've been to schools with 4 and I've been to schools with only 2. When you're doing passing period, every quarterback throws a ball. So wherever if it's drop back or sprint out, wherever the launching point of the ball is, we always had the second, third, fourth quarterback just standing there with a ball, maybe 4, 5, 6 feet away from the starting quarterback. And when he snaps the ball, you've got 3 or 4 guys running routes. Every receiver caught a ball. We had balls flying in the air. Now sometimes it was read stuff, so our quarterback was reading it. So there was 2 receivers that only got 1 ball because the starting quarterback was making a read there. But we always threw a backside route. We always threw. Sometimes you have fade routes. You just want to run the safety off. We had somebody throwing him a ball. So you're always throwing. Every receiver, my goal is every receiver catches a ball. That's easy to do. I don't care how big your program is. I like what Coach did I'm going to steal that with the net. His second quarterback was standing there. His second quarterback didn't have any running backs or wide receivers, probably because they were all special teams. He had that quarterback do his footwork and just throw the ball into a net. Right. So that was a good one.
This drill right here, we're doing inside run. We've combined inside run, and we've also turned it into an RPO drill. So he's throwing the back side of the RPO. He's throwing the front side of the RPO, and we're running inside run here.
So Coach, is the way he's got it set up. He's got his starting quarterback where he should be with the running back to run inside zone. A backup quarterback is standing behind the right tackle, throwing a single receiver route to the right. The other quarterback standing behind the left tackle, throwing the RPO to the left. So there's a handoff, and then there's 2 passes. One's going left, one's going right. Love it, Coach. Love it.
Yeah. So, that's just an example of utilizing, our time and making sure, everybody's got something to do. And it's great for our quarterbacks, great for our players. This is the inside run period, but why not work our RPOs at the same time? So, instead of having 20 minutes of this drill because we got to do inside run, we got to do RPO, blah, blah, blah. We just combined it in there. Now we got a 7-minute period script that we get 10 plays in, and we got great looks. So it's a great thing to do. Exactly what you were saying, using multiple quarterbacks. And I think you can do this pretty much anywhere.
Yep, I agree. It's good small school drill.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, other than that, that's about all I have as far as this.
Coach, a couple questions popped up. Coach, during all this stuff, what do you do with your 9th graders and your sophomores?
Well, they all, a lot of them are on scout team. A lot of them play scout team, and we use those guys for scout team. The way we do it, we practice everybody both ways. Even a big school like us, we practice our kids both ways. And during the defensive part of practice, the JVs work with offensive coaches, and we kind of mirror the practice schedule that the varsity kids do. And then we'll flip. All right. And then once we get into team sessions with the season, those kids end up being a lot of scout team guys. And we coach those guys hard because, you know, they'd be scout team guys on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They play pretty darn good in the JV game on Saturdays, you know. So so that's
Coach,
really good.
What you mean you coach both ways is so if I'm a football player in your program, I'm a junior. So I'm going to play quarterback and safety. Every kid is assigned 2 positions.
Not the quarterbacks.
Bad example.
So I get extra drill time with the Qs, you know. So the varsity quarterbacks are with me, and then sometimes when they go varsity defensive practice, let's say if our one of our defense coaches need a quarterback for something, me and my guys will go down there and service those guys during that time.
Coaches, I agree. And on my All Access coaching website, I've got my whole worst to first program, and you know, I had an 0-24 program that I took over, an 0-27 program I took over. That large school that I had 220 kids at, they hadn't won a playoff game 110 years. So you're trying to change the culture. I'm a firm believer that if you want to build a team, true team where everybody's contributing, I think every kid has to service both sides of the ball. I tried the 2 platoon thing because it sounded good. And we're like, well, I can get 2 hours of offensive practice. I get 2 hours of defense practice. You know what happened? We became kingdom builders. All of a sudden on Friday night, people were pointing fingers. Well, if the offense would have done this, well, if the defense would have did this. And I think just from a culture standpoint, I don't care how many kids you got. I love what Coach said. Everyone should have 2 positions. Now, he may be your stud on offense, but he's a third stringer over there on defense. But at least he's understanding, he's contributing. Yeah. The other thing I love what Coach said, and we did this a couple years ago, we do that split field practice system where, all right, varsity, you're with the offensive coaches for the first hour. JVs go with the defensive coaches. And then after, you know, an hour, whatever, 90 minutes, we switch the players and the coaches kind of stay on their fields. And so the JV kids are basically running the varsity script, the varsity practice, getting the varsity drills. Obviously, it's watered down a little bit because they're younger. But what I love about it is the kids are hearing the same buzzword. So like Coach Troxler here, that freshman quarterback is with Coach Troxler for 4 years. He's not with a JV coach. And then his junior year has to learn what Coach Troxler's buzzwords are.
Yeah,
so
they're getting quality coaching, you know, and they're, you know, it really makes a difference. It really does.
Yes. Coach, but you separate in Ohio, you separate your 9th graders out.
Yeah, our 9th grade has a totally separate staff, and they practice separately and all that.
And I honestly, mathematically, I think that's impossible to avoid. We were so happy with our split field system, and our JVs were getting such great coaching. We're like, well, let's include the freshmen. Well, it doesn't work because you'd have to rotate 3 ways, right? So if the JVs are on defense, varsity is offense, what's the freshman doing? So we were the same way. We just said, all right, freshmen need to stay down there. And we found 4 coaches who were very positive coaching them. Experience to me didn't matter. I'd want an experienced coach. But if none of my screamers or yellers or coaches that were really intense and brought a lot of intensity, I don't know if I wanted on the freshman staff because I want all those freshmen coming back next year. So again, so Coach, I think we hit it. Those are my questions about 9th graders, sophomores. You already talked about how you adapt to a small school football. You've been there, done that. Coach, go ahead and share your screen and we'll kind of wrap this up and if you got anything to add and coaches, we really appreciate you tuning in. Coaches, contact stuff's up on the screen. If you guys are listening on the podcast.
The only thing is this, I kind of got out of the Twitterverse. I probably need to reactivate that, but there's my email. I couldn't take it no more. I had to get off of that. So
Coach, I'll tell you what, I'm going to defend Twitter. I was the same way that all those Twitidiots were going out there, especially around that election time.
Yeah, that's when I got off, but I'm gonna uncover that. I probably need to reactivate that thing.
Coach, I've been very impressed. I think people have. I believe in the good in people, right? I think too. Everyone got tired of it, and I've been real happy now with Facebook and Twitter. I think the positivity is starting to come back, and everyone kind of just gave up on criticizing everyone. And so I'm really enjoying Twitter. Coach, that's some way I got off about 3 months. I couldn't take it. but I'm really enjoying it.
That's
now.
what I did. And I didn't get back, but I believe in that too. And I think the world needs football coaches. And I love football coaches, and I love guys that spend time on their craft. And, you know, I think we're some of the last line of defense of building young men and productive citizens, and even the kids that we have to coach up and bring along that aren't making good decisions and not just throwing them away and really reeling them back in. I think that we're still needed in this world. And it's kind of an awesome, and it's a responsibility we have as football coaches. And I think that it's something special. And I know you guys listening, and I know you, Coach, you feel the same way. You know, spreading positivity and keeping kids on the right track, and what football teaches kids to become men, and you know, going through the adversity. I mean, there's nothing better than high school football. And
I agree. I think our country on social media, they need more coaches on there, not just football coaches, because you know, we make a living at motivating, building, and inspiring, and our country needs more of that.
I agree with you, man.
You know, and I really do. I believe in the good of people, and I think there's way more good people than the negativity, whatever, woke, whatever you want to label those people that are just wake up every morning and want to pee in somebody else's Cheerios. I believe in the power of people, and I think good's going to prevail. I'm a Christian also. I think the good Christian people, family people, I think they're going to rise up and take back over this country. I got to believe it. That's what keeps me going every day. Coach, so you've got your contact up there. You guys on the podcast, we'll have it in the show notes how you get a hold of Coach. Coach, talk about how they can reach out to you in the Glazier Drive, and what cities are you speaking at this year with the Glazier clinics?
All right, just get on the Glazier Drive. It's the Glazier Drive, and there's discussion boards. There's links that you can get in touch with me on. I've got a ton of documents. I got over 30 sessions on there. I'm speaking this year. I'll be in Boston and I'll be in Pittsburgh. So I'm really excited about that this year. We took a year off of going around the colleges and stuff. So, you know, I'm really excited about being able to, because of COVID, being able to get back into the in-person clinic. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And so if you're in the Boston area, come on. In the Pittsburgh area, come on. I'll be there. And usually I hang out there at the hotel afterwards. So I'm willing to talk ball and hang out and all that good stuff, and learn from you guys as well.
Coach, I'm going to holler at you. I'm in Boston too. I'm in Boston, St. Louis, and San Francisco.
Oh, so, sweet. All right, cool. Yeah.
And this is my second Boston clinic. Those are good guys up there, man. Those Massachusetts, Delaware, Maine guys, they got to learn how to coach in the snow, and those are good guys. I like up there in the they call it Boston, right? BAW, Boston, right? So, yeah. Coach, that's awesome.
They'll probably have a southern accent.
So again, coaches, all of this is in the show notes, along with we'll have Coach's PowerPoint with those practice schedules. We'll have them as a downloadable PDF for you guys that whether on the YouTube channel or the show notes, you'll be able to download it. Remember, coaches, all of this was brought to you by Rack Performance and allaccesscoaching.com. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, make sure you subscribe, as we will be doing 3 of these every week. They're always free. Every Monday, I interview a coach or partner from the Glazier Drive family, and on Thursdays, I interview coaches from my All Access Coaching family. Got about 17 or 18 of us on the allaccesscoaching.com website that are, also we got a forum and questions and systems and trying to help coaches. And then on Sundays, it's just me babbling. It's just Rick Stewart talking about program building, wing tee, 4-2-5 defense, and strength training. My 32nd year of coaching, and I really enjoy giving back. These podcasts and the downloads that go with them are always free. You can find the podcast at Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere else podcasts are found. There's tons of free PowerPoints, PDFs, and webinars at both the Glazier Drive and the All Access Coaching website. I've got a bunch of free downloads. Coach's video, we'll post it up on our All Access Coaching website. You guys can watch it for free if you're listening on the podcast, and you can go to my website and download the PowerPoint that goes with this presentation. It'll also be on the YouTube channel, the All Access Coaching YouTube channel, and the Glazier Clinics YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on the Coach Rick Stewart Twitter account, Coach Rick Stewart Facebook page, and then I just mentioned our YouTube channel where we upload 3 new videos every week. So it's really about giving back to coaches. You've got lots of places where if you want to get hold of myself or Coach Troxler and get going. And this PowerPoint, if you didn't get to see it, you podcast people, I highly recommend you download it. Coach had some real detailed practice schedules, how they lay it out minute by minute. And I think practice organization is very key to new young coaches coming into the profession. I think that's probably where I struggled the most. I knew my X's and O's when I was a young coach, but organizing people, right? I felt like I was herding cats when I was a young coach. You know, how do I get this all organized when I was a coordinator, then a head coach? So this was a topic that was dear to my heart. Hey, Coach, thank you. We're going to cut this off. You got any parting words for the listeners out there?
No, guys, like Coach said, organizing practice was one of the biggest things I had to learn as a coach, especially as a young coach. And, keep fighting a good fight and keep working hard. I mean, and hopefully I'll see some people out and at the clinics. And looking forward to meeting you, Coach, and then get on that drive. Get on that drive and contact me anytime.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
All right, Coach. Take care.